Okay, well, welcome to this workshop or training that is about testing and refactoring legacy code. Um, let me let this freezing. Okay, uh, the objective of this training is to learn a technique to transform the legacy code to testable and more flexible code with a basic example. I heard a lot of companies or projects that I was before that is expensive and it's not easy to refactor because well every time we hear this word we imagine something like the last image like this like a Jenga game. But if you have the right tools and the right technique, it could be easier and you can explore this technique or this good practice of programming. Um, and I enforce to you to be brave with this concern, I think. Um, the audience for this is are software developers, software architects, and technical leads. And everyone that reads, write, and inspect and analyze code from others, the most of the times, and people who want to improve their code and strive for its quality. I have just a note here. We are going to use Java because our projects are written in Java, but the the concepts could be applied for other languages like PHP, C Sharp, and Ruby, and so on. Okay, but what is legacy code? We are talking about legacy code, but we don't have a definition. There are so many definitions uh, in the web or in either in books. Wikipedia say that source code is related with uh, not supported or a system that is not you don't have control of this system because the code is lost, I think. Uh, but many shops or many companies refers to any older version of the application that is currently maintenance uh, as legacy code. I say, and sometimes when you hear legacy code, you say, well, it is hard to work with, it's hard to test, and usually it's hard to read. I cannot understand that. We can see a simple example. It's a system, a simple alarm clock that has a lot of dependencies and is like a system that is that has legacy code, I think. Uh, some people like me, well, not like me, other people define code that works because this is the current code that move the business, and it is right. The code works as expected. Could be not as the better code you have read before, but it works, and it is the most important for the business, I think, and for you, uh, it needs to be. And many people like me define legacy code as code that has no tests. So, uh, being strictly, you can write uh, your code, uh, and minutes later, it could become an legacy code because if you don't write any tests, you are writing your the code, the legacy code by yourself. I think because well. You say, well, I'm going to code this, but now I had so many dependencies, it's difficult to test. Well, it works fine. Uh, a month later, you see your code and what I was thinking in this time. There is a good book I recommend you. It's working effectively with legacy code. I didn't read all the book, but it looks like good practices to enforce this practice, I think, and I recommend it. And another definitions using images, um, and well, it could be funny, but when you are under pressure, is sadly, I think. Well, and the most important I can see here is like Yoda said, because well, not testing is the part of the legacy code. Not testing it leads to complexity. The complexity leads to duplication, and finally, the duplication leads to suffering, like you say, Donald. And there are a lot of things that we know when that's not simply refactor the legacy code as simple. And this is the reason I'm trying to explain that. Okay, our example here, I am extract some classes from the SIM project. Just the classes that are related. Uh, um, the group CI handle has just three public methods. Um, this is the most or it's our main class we are going to focus, but there are some dependencies we need to deal, and we are going to refactor also them. Okay, the group CIs general from scratch. I will say that it checks a server request, a request, and defines if it needs to retrieve a group CI's bin object from the file values or from given from this given request. And the time helper is utility class to retrieve the current time and expected date format. Has a method to retrieve the next date from a given date or given time, and the other is to retrieve the time given any days in the past. If you pass, for example, one day, it will return yesterday, the day of yesterday. Has some logger that also is shortcut from logger operations related with error messages. And the group CI's bin is just a bin, is just a Pojo, a plain object, all Java object that has attributes and some getters and setters of these attributes. And the most interesting method they have, because not the most interesting, the has more logic or uh, than the setters or getters is the A2, the get start index and can count title, and it use group CI or is composed by other objects. Use a page helper, and that's all. Is a basic example. Is not so difficult, but we are going to start. Okay, well, before to start, I'm going to talk about some rules about how to treat or how to manage the legacy code. We need to do not change our production code if not is covered by a test. The only exception to this rule is when the test need some changes on the production code to run the test. We are going to see this, but we are going to use automatic refactorings using our IDE. In this case, we are going to use Eclipse, but we can use whatever you feel comfortable with. And And our strategy is the next. We are going to start testing from the shortest branch to the deepest branch. Why? Because almost the time, uh, the deepest branch has a lot of dependencies, a lot of logic, and it's difficult to understand what they need to get into this deepest branch. So we are going to try to understand first the shortest branch, provide the test, and continually go more internally in the deepest branch. When we finish, we cover all our code. Uh, we are ready to start refactoring, and then we are going to start refactoring from the deepest branch to the shortest branch in opposite way. Well, and also before to start, we need to equip uh, with tools. We are going to use Eclipse as IDE. We are going to use Git and Maven as defensive um, source control because we need to ensure every step we perform is saved, and we are going continually committing our changes to save to have save points here. We are going to use a plugin of Eclipse and could be installed in other IDEs like IDEA. It's called Infinites, and also there are plugins to call to have code coverage markups, and we are going to use in this. I recommend to the daily use this. Okay, if you want to follow this uh, workshop or has you want to have the code, you can clone the repository in this location, and you get uh, the basic code, the begin code. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to show you the code. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. Uh, okay. Well, let me clear git reset. Oh, I am. Ah, no, I am in another project here. I'm sorry. Git um, today. And here, let me reset this. Let me clean my code because I want to start with a code, a clean code. And in this case, if you uh, clone the project, you get the master branch. But I'm using another branch that is called Kara to leave this master branch for future use. If you want to start with a clean project, you can start from the master and create a new branch from the master, and try your changes to do not mix your changes with the master code to have a base code to initialize. So I'm going to create my project in Eclipse. Sorry, it's not Git, it's Maven. Use Eclipse, Eclipse. This is because we don't have this Eclipse files, so I can import my project here, and I'm going to start with this go. Okay. Well, I don't know why I have these problems. I don't know if this is the network, I think, but we are going to ignore this. warnings or something, these errors or maybe. But we are going focusing on this. We have some warnings of the package, and we are going to use this console to show some messages before. Well, I'm going to start first showing you the classes I said before. The group CI handler is here. Let me put this and let me arrange this to this way. This is the class I said before. This is the method to define if uh, retrieves the foul bin has a big condition here. In the next one, we have just a little bit setters to the bin and retrieve it, but we have dependency on time helper here, and the difficult to have this is we have statical method here. I have a statical method here, and this is difficult to test. We need to provide a way to this. Eventually, I'm going to show you the other classes, but I'm going to start with this. The first thing I want to do is to reformat the code because sometimes it's difficult to read but to the format. So the first thing I'm going to do is to reformat, and I'm going to commit this. Git commit reformat code. Yeah, this is the first thing I will do. The second thing, I will create a test. I want to test every public method of this class, and I'm going to create code coverage using my tools. And the first thing I need to do is create my test. But in this project, I don't have uh, the 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 right source folder for the test because in Maven I delete these classes. I need to create. Uh, I create a folder. I call test and Java because I will put my code in this repository in this folder. So to create a test, press Ctrl N and type test and select a unit test. Change this main for test. The name of the class is almost the same, the class under test, but with the test suffix. And it is a convention, is not required, but I suggest to follow this convention. I'm going to mark this setup method here. It's not always required, but it's recommended to create because sometimes we use. And we can select the method we are going to start testing. I'm going to use this, and I finish my test. Uh, as you can see here, in my infinite test is in red. Why? Because my test explicitly is failing. And you can see here, my infinite test says that there's an assertion error here, and I need to resolve. So, well, for this, I'm going to delete this line, and when I save my file, my infinite test run the test. So I have this feedback immediately when I perform some changes. It's very valuable to have this feedback when you are testing your classes or you are making changes on your production code, even in your tests, I think. Well, let me check this class. Let me check this method. And if we remember our role or strategy, we are going to start from the shortest branch. And in this condition, the shortest branch here is when this condition is false. Because if I did this true, it will become to evaluate this one, and if it is true also, it will become evaluating and so on. But the shortest branch is to evaluate this to false. So we're going to test this. And this test is, look at this. It will return false when the request parameter when with batch ID parameter is not null. Because if it is null, it is true. And I need to test that. So my name, I'm going to change the name, and I will to express this business logic. Should return false when batch ID is not null. The name of the test is very important because it expresses what are you expecting, what is the scenario, and what you are expecting on the test. And I am forced to use well test names, like I suggest, but you can use something that is meaningful for you. Okay, and the first thing I need to create this object that I am testing, group CI's bin handle. I'm going to create this guy. I'm going to call just handler, and I need to that assert that is a method from JUnit that has two parameters or two attributes. Well, parameters, I say. I need to put handler. I don't know. Yes, handler. I want to call my method name. Um, and should generate the file bin. I pass a request here. I'm going to put uh, next, and I'm going to use core matches is false. I am testing that. Okay, let me suppress this. Control Shift M to be. I'm going to fix this. I create a local variable here. Okay, I create this. Well, if you put I put null, for example, if I run my test, it will throw a null pointer exception. But I need to provide a HTTP server request that returns to that is not null. But what happens if I say I do something like that? If I say HTTP server request, this is an interface. So if I provide this, I want to generate um, an implementation. But as you can see here, there are a lot of methods that this interface has, and I don't like this because I just want to uh, use this method of the request. I just want to use the request method, the get parameter method. So I will control C this, and I need to provide something better. I'm going to use a framework called Mockito to mock my request, and I'm going to say HTTP server request dot class, and that's all. If I run my test, the 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 error message changes. This is not a null pointer exception, but it says expected is false, but was true. Why? Because by default, when you mock a method, for example, the request parameter, uh, it will return the default value of the of this method. In this case, it returns a string, and the string by default, or all the objects by default, uh, initialize with null. So I need to express. Well, first I don't like to use this. I'm going to remove this. Stay clean every time as possible. And I want to say, well, Mockito dot when my request call to get parameter with group CIs handle dot batch ID, then return, and I'm going to say any string. Yes, and I'm going to create this guy here. I'm going to let me here. I'm going to use, I don't know, Skippy. So if I run my test, is now passing because I when I my method or my request retrieves the get parameter, it returns any string, and it is not null. So when I expecting this false, my assertion is correct. So let me well, I'm going to remove this just for the trash. I can remove this also because it's not necessary to have all the name of the class by using constants here. And let me check. We are going to run this with coverage. And well, let me split this like this. And you can see here my code coverage told me that I touched this branch, but it is not totally um, covered because it's in yellow because there is lacking to test when it is true, when this condition is true. Well, I'm going to leave the condition when return true uh, to the last part. So I'm going to concentrate in the next test. So I'm going to test almost the same here, but I'm going to say, well, start time. I'm going to use, I'm going to copy this. Okay, and I will to test. It is passing, and I run my, well, um, test. No, my test is now here. But because I copy and paste this, I am saying I am doing that I don't want. I'm duplicating my code. So I'm going to move some guys to another place. So I need to, you can see here, I create the handler, I mock the HTTP server request, I call this, and I assert something like that. It is duplicating my code. Well, I'm going to move this guy to here. I will become private for better expression here. I save, my run is passing, so I'm going to, yes, my test is passing now. I can delete this. I'm going to move this guy to here. Also make private. My test is passing now. I can something like that. So the only thing I am changing is this thing. So if you look at this, my test is almost the same. I am repeating this line. The only thing is this. So let me move this. I need uh, to focus on the test because well I am almost the same. The parameter is only the one that is varying. I need to create a better test for this. So I'm going to use something called parameterized test. I'm going to run my test with uh, JUnit parameters runner class. And I'm going to provide for this these parameters that I am using, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to pass this guy here, and I'm going to use this guy here. I'm going to comment this for a while just to test, and I need to pass the parameter here, the parameter name, and the parameter name I need to use here. So if I run my test, it is still passing. If I run my code coverage, it's almost the same. I am doing the same thing. So I eliminate some duplication of code here, and I can easily add more tests. For example, I'm going to use this thing. Is this passing? Oh, well, we are going to see this. Run as the unit. Look at this. I am testing with different parameter name. So I'm going to continue with my coverage here. I can run this. I run this. Yes. And the last one is this root page. I run my test, and I run my coverage here, and it's almost green. And the last thing I need to do is, because I test all the parameters with they are not null, I am able to test the other part. I'm going to test. Well, I use this test, and this name of the test will be to return true when all parameters are null. This is my test. So I'm going to copy and paste this, but I will not copy and paste. I will replace, because with any string here, with any string, to not say every this, I'm going to test this. Any string that I retrieve of my request will be returned. Uh, uh, Here I'm going to say a null string. I create this guy because this is null. Well, this is okay, but I am expecting true. So my test is now running, and I run my coverage here. Let me check. Oh no, my test is green. Yes. Okay. Well, if you remember the rule, I cannot start refactoring this method when when it is not covered by test. But now my code is covered by a test. I am testing every possibility of this branch or this method, so I am able to start refactoring. So uh, the most common mistake when you are writing code is that you complicate the things. You do something like that. You append a lot of expressions to a condition, but do not express what is the business rule. So we are going to express this using a method name. We are going to express this, and what is the condition we need to follow? Our tests are we can help with this. You look your test. Should return false when batch ID parameter. Well, this name is not okay here. I'm going to rename when any parameter is null. It's not null. I'm sorry. It's not null. Uh, no, I'm with the parameter. A parameter is not null. And should return true when all parameters are null. So I need to express this logic here. I'm going to copy extract method here. I'm going to express this logic. All parameter are null, and I'm going to make this private, and I'm going to move this guy to the last one part. Here, I like to have my public methods at the top to because they are I am exposing to my other to other developers. Okay, well, I'm going to save this, and my test is still green. So because my test is still green is a good point to commit. Git commit git add git commit add test for chill blah blah blah. For this, I'm going to skip some details, but if you follow this, um, you are going to use the correct names to express this. I don't like to say to do this, but for to reduce the time, I'm going to chart the commit messages here. So, well, I move all logic here, but I just only move the the name to express this. If you look at this, we can see some duplication because you get the parameter from this and evaluates to null. So this logic is duplicating. You are not duplicating the code here because they have, but you are duplicating the structure of this. So you can remove this, and you can. I'm going to pass these parameters using a collection or something like that. So I'm going to refactor this method. I'm going to change the method signature, and I want to pass um, my parameters as a collection. I'm going to use var args here, and I'm going to say parameters name, and I will become private here. And now, if I use this refactor, my ID changed this for me. It provides a null of the file value. This is important when you change the signature to be conscious that you need to fix when it is changed by the ID. You need to go here and change for the right parameters. So I'm going to iterate my parameter list parameter, and I'm going to say if request dot get parameter here, it's different to null, return false. Well, why? Because when I use when at least one parameter is not null, it will return false, and I will return true if everything is not null. So let me comment this. But if I'm sorry, here is missing commenting. If I run this, my test fail because it is a null pointer exception for every step because I pass a null. So I need to fix this, and I'm going to pass this, the parameters list. So if I run this, now, well, it's false when it is true. Well, let me check. Return true, parameters expected is false. Let me check. Should return false when parameter is not null. What parameter? Let me check. And time. Yes, I forget to pass the page here. This is my mistake. Let me save this. Let me save this, and my test is green here. See, because I need to all the parameters that I am evaluating here, because I passed more parameters than I was expecting here. So I want to remove this. I don't like to have that code here. It's not a good idea to have the code. So remove it. This is why you have version control. If you want to see the version of other class, you go to the previous version. Okay, and my code is clean. More cleaner, or is cleaner. I'm sorry. So it's a good time to commit this. Good commit. Refactor code. I'm just going to say something like that. Okay. Okay. Everybody has is understanding what I'm saying, doing, or there are some questions or something like that?
This is very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. Okay. We are going to move to the other method because I covered this, but it is not covered yet. This method. Okay. No, I'm sorry. This is the next one. Okay. Look at this. This method creates a bin. Set the start time using the time helper here, and set the end time here, and set the page, and return this bin with these values. So this has some problems to test because has a dependency on this. I'm going to express this problem here with a test. Okay, if I test this, I want to say, well, it's not the same to perform code coverage like test coverage, because well, let me show you this. Should set bin when handle default parameters. Yes. Okay, I'm going to I use the handler dot handle default parameters. I'm going to create this guy. I'm going just to say call bin. If I run this, my test is green because I'm just calling this method here. If I run my code coverage, all my method is green because it passed for all the lines here. But it doesn't mean that I am testing what everything is passing here. The objective of this method is to set every these three attributes to the bin using this or using this and using this. So I'm going to assert this, assert that bin that get start time is because look at this. I need to know what this method does. I check this, and this method retrieves the day uh, less number of days you provide. For example, here if I say I read subtract 1 day, I get yesterday. In this case, I use 3, so I will be 3 days in the past. So uh, let me. We are 28. Okay, this is use this format. 28, and I think well, it is not okay. I need to this is 26, I think. No, 25, and it is pass. But the problem with this test is if I run this test tomorrow, it will be another date, so my test will fail. So I need to remove the things that change because I cannot control the time because in my test every instance is changing. So I need to provide a way to uh, to extract or to separate this thing that is changing, and it is called a sim. In using unit test terminology is a sim. And how to provide a sim? Because this is a dependency on this, I'm going to extract this as a method. I'm going to convert in protected way, and I'm going to say get start time, something like that. Get the start time, and it will return this. And here I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to extract this, and I'm going to say get today because it retrieves the current time in a given format. Okay, if I run my test, I am my test is running well, but what happens if I say something like that? If string today is, I don't know, whatever date. For example, if 2010 to 9, this is my birthday, and if it today is this day will be something like 22. Yes, I can if I can control the date, I can say that the date or the expected date will be this, but this doesn't happen because I cannot control the date. So for this, I'm going to provide a private class, and I'm going to call it testable um, group CIS handler, and extends my group CIS handle. Sorry for that. It is working fine, but I am not using. I'm going to use instead of this, and I'm going to refactor. Well, I'm not override. I will override this method here, and here I'm going to say something like that. I'm going to say that instead of retrieving this, I will return today as a variable here. Let me, and this variable I will create it. I will to call here start time. I'm going to create this guy. So I will can change this. Let me check why. But was null. Okay, yes, because I'm not saying that the start time has is this. I will pass this, and I will say that I am expecting is the start time because I want to mock this using another class. So I'm going to move this guy because I'm going to say that is the day here for every test, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to remove this here. Should set bin end. I'm sorry, end time. When? Okay, I'll say start time to provide a better name for the test. Default. Well, this is not affect, but it's a good idea to have not misspelling here. Always check your code. This is why mm, a code review is for that. And I'm going to say here is today, but I'm going to say the end time here, and it will pass. I think I expect. And the last is simpler. I don't need to mock anything here because I just pass the one here, and I'm going to test this. And I'm going to say page, I'm sorry, page is 1. And I'm going to change the name because it's duplicating here. Is 1. And my test is still green. These three tests are not the same because they assert different things. You can create one test to assert all the attributes, but I don't recommend that. I recommend use one assert by test. It's not a good idea to have more than one assert because you broke the unity or the unit test because you are testing more than one thing. So, well, my code is testable now. We are ready to commit this. Oh, we add git commit add a test for handle the file, so blah blah blah, and this is what I am doing here. Okay, but the problem with my test now is that I need to um, create this class, and the worst part is that I need to create these two methods here to become testable, and I need to create this method to just to test, and this is not a good idea because look at this name. The handler needs to know how to get the current date, and also need to know how to retrieve the start time for this thing. And speaking about the single responsibility principle, we are breaking this. So I'm going to provide a better implementation of this. But for this thing, I need to broke this. I need to broke the statical code. I need to inject my own time helper instance and provide a mock implementation of this method or this thing. So I'm going to go here, time helper. I'm going to create a test for this. I'm sorry, it's Control N, test. I'm going to create a test, and that's all. Okay, let me move this for this to have the code here and my test here. Also, by default is failing. So I need to provide first, well, a method for start time and for today. So let's start with the today. Well, I need to provide a method that do the same thing that this method does. But the problem with this method is that it is static and has a new date. Okay, let me do this. Should retrieve current date. So I'm going to create here. I need to replace this statical method with other method that does the same. but it needs to be an instance method. Well, I'm going to create a time helper here. I'm going to say today as a string. Why today as a string? Because if I say just today is a date, but the current time is in a string format. I want to call as better name to say today as a string. I don't have this method here. I'm going to create time helper is string. I'm sorry here, and the basic implementation is to call time helper get current time. I save this. I save this. I'm going to today as a string. Yes, it is okay. Uh, the same problem I said before. If I assert that today as a string is um, core matches here, and I'm going to say sorry 2006 04. Okay, it is important here. My test is green, but what happened if I run this test tomorrow? The same situation I said before. So because I need to mark the date here. I need to mark the date here. Well, I'm going to copy this, the same, all the method here, the current implementation. My my test is green also because it's doing the same, but I need to mark this. So I'm going to call this today as protected I am doing before, and I return this. So and now I need to create a private testable time helper. Extend. I'm sorry. I need to say class extends time helper, and I need to instead of using this, I want to use this a testable time helper here, and I need to overwrite the today as a string. No, I'm sorry. I use here a static. I don't need a static here. I need instance method here because you cannot override a statical method. You can override just instance method here, and I'm going to say today. I'm going to create this guy here. I'm sorry. This. Here. And the date I can create as this. I'm going to create here I'm going to say today will be because I need a way to create easily a date. I'm going to use this Java SQL the date that is subclass of date, the Java util date. I'm going to use value of, and I'm going to use I don't know. This is in this format. I don't know. Almost this, my birthday also, and if my birthday is this, I'm going to say the only thing that changes the format here. So, oh, let me check today. Ah, I cannot save it. I'm not saving here. Oh, here uh, I this is failing here because it's not statical anymore here, and I had this. I replace all the things and has a lot of new date here. And my test is passing now. Um, what else? I mock this. I need to test the other method here. Should retrieve yesterday. I am yesterday. Okay, I'm going to say this new testable uh, time helper dot. I want to say the name of this method is get before time, but I don't know if it is a good name. I'm going to say date before given days, given the number days. The name could be renamed, but I want to express the intention of this. Okay, I'm going to create this one day. I'm going to say this is not a string, this is an int number that represent the name, then one day, and I'm going to create this method here. And where is the method? Oh, I'm sorry. I because I use the time helper here. I I'm going to move this to this part. And I'm going to say protected. Not public because this is my method here. And this is not void, this is string. And it will retrieve um, time helper that get before time. One day. Well, one day is not a good name here because it is. I want to say by days. I don't know. And my test is passing. So I'm going to move this. Well, the name here is yesterday because if I call this name here, will be called yesterday. But the problem with my implementation here is that I am using the statical method, and the statical method use this new date. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to say something like that. I'm going to say, let me check today, 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 here, because it's the same. I retrieve a day. Aquí, here, I have days to make it compile, and my test is failing. Illegal argument. Okay, I retrieve this illegal argument exception because in my implementation I use the hours component, but my time doesn't have. So I will timestamp, and I need to provide this 0, 0, 0, and it will pass. My implementation is not so good here, but I need to pass this. So yesterday I'm going to say that day before my birthday is 24 here. So it needs to pass. Um, it's freezing. It's thinking. I don't know why. Maybe. Okay. Meanwhile, this is compiling or something like that, or I don't know. The basic idea is to extract the things that change. In this case, or you cannot control. The date is something that you cannot control. Could be also the file system. A file in the file system. If you depend on this, your test is not so good because if the file is removed, your test will fail. You need to provide the resource for your test. So here my test is passing now, and I'm well, I am more comfortable with this test, but not so much because it has a lot of things that I don't like this. But it is okay. For now, it is okay. I provide a better solution like than before. So I'm ready to commit this. Git status, git add, git commit, add test for time helper class. Okay. Uh, because I am ready for my coverage here is so you can see my two methods that I provide here are coverage by my test. So I will refactor this now. So here, look at this. I get a string and I format from a formatter and I retrieve it. I can inline Shift Alt E I'm sorry, and look at this, and I create a shortest thing. So this formatter here is repeating here. You can see here. So I can move this to the top, and I make it private. So my test is still green. So because I use the day, the current time here, and use the today, I can inline and use this, and my test is shorter. Okay. Mm, this is a method. I cannot refactor this, or I can do it, but I will concentrate on my methods that I provide. Uh, so, because this is my current method that I am providing, this method, the current time, becomes deprecated because I need to use my method here, and I provide a method and a message here. I use time helper to today as a string. Instead, whatever that use the statical method will receive a warning, and it will say, "Hey, you are using a deprecating code," and it will show what is the replacement of this method. And here, with this date before giving number days by days, uh, almost the same. We create here inline this. Uh, Let me check with this. No, this it is not okay. Mm. This is I align this. I retrieve this because I am repeating this for matter. I can comment this. Uh, Look at this. I don't want to use a deprecated method of a library. I want to create a new date, and I'm going to say something like that. Date, new date. I don't know. New date. I want to construct a date object, but using the elements that I had. I had the today dot get time, and I will subtract the milliseconds time unit dot days to milliseconds. And what number? Days. And this new date I'm going to use, and my test is green. So I don't need anymore this line because I don't use it. I'm sorry. I can delete it, and these lines could be deleted. And you can, if you want, you can inline this. But for this, my line is bigger. You can do it or not, whatever you want. But well, if you can say something like that. Yeah. And this is how I reformat this code. So my test is now good. So because I create this method, I can leave this for now because I need to go to the main class that I was trying to repair. That is this. Look at this. Now my get current time is deprecated. So because I provide a better solution for this, I use something like that. I'm going to use time helper dot today as string, and I want to create this guy fill time helper today as string, um, time helper. But to use this, oh, let me check why today as a string. What am okay? I don't know why it does. Oh, maybe I misspelled the name because I need a time helper to pass to mock. Uh, because if I use something like that, if I say new time helper here, I will use the real time helper. But I don't want to use the real time helper. I need to mock my time helper here. So I'm going to use Spring here to auto while to say that I need to provide the time helper. I need to provide this time helper because it's a collaboration with my code. And why it is not failing? Because even I am using this, I am overriding here, and I use this method instead of this. So I need to change this, and I'm going to okay, today I'm going to and I'm going to inline this. Okay, well, I have a problem here because I am overriding in the test, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to provide this because I need a time helper. My test is not red. Why? Because I have a null pointer exception. I don't have this guy is null, or because I don't have nothing that provides. Well, I will mark this using a component class here, and my test will still fail in null pointer exception because even I didn't provide this. So because well, I need to use instead of my testable group CI handle, I need to use a real handle. I don't want to use anymore my this handle because it's also a mock. It's not a real thing. I want to create a real handle, and I want to do this. I'm going to well, let me check this. Well, my test is failing. Let me I'm going to run just this test. Um, run as the unit. Oh, why? Oh, children. Well, check this. Even I change the real handle here, my test is passing, and this is passing because, well, if I run this and run this, these tests are passing now. But all the things that depends on the time helper will fail because I didn't provide here the time helper. So I need to create a mock. I need to provide a mock that is a time helper. Helper, I want to say time helper. And this that I create, the real handle, I will to say that it injects mocks. So in my method here, I'm going to say to initialize my mocks, my test with this mocks. And I go in when my time helper, I don't know, my helper, I say helper, just, nah, I don't have this, dot today as a string, then return uh, today, because today is using here. I'm going to create this. Okay, well, let's to run the test by should look at this. Here I have failing. I don't have a null pointer interception here, but I have this. I am expecting this date, but I am retrieving this. And what says you'll return start time. Okay, the start time is using this. Well, I need to mock this method here. Time helper, time. Okay, I'm going to say time helper dot day before day, something like that. But because I using this mocket here, I'm going to remove this. Let me check. I have problems here. Real handler, real handler, real handler here. Let me check. Okay, I pass all my tests, but I am just having this problem here because I don't provide a mock for this. So in this method, I'm going to say something like that. Because I am using this, I could say something when time helper. No, helper I call. Sorry, I'm using the convert date, and I'm going to say because well here I use before time, but it's private. I'm going to use protected access here. So here I'm going to use group GI handle before time, then return start time. And my test is green. Well, and I'm going to run my coverage here. Well, the last thing, the last method I'm using this. I'm going to inline this. I'm going to delete him. My test is still green. I remove the protected. I don't want anymore because well if I say private here it is not used, it's safely to remove it. And can I lock this? So run my coverage. Well, I'm going to because well here there are we don't have time to explain all the things. I want to explain a very important thing here, and I'm going to focus only for this I don't know 5 minutes or that. The thing why is important to have tests? Why tests could be to improve our code to and discover new bugs. Okay, I'm going to concentrate in this part. I will skip this. I will even this skip it. I want to avoid. I don't know test. I'm going to say should set page when is not null or empty. Something like that. Look at this. I'm going to say handle and real handle. Well, the real handle here, the name is not needed anymore because there is not real here. It's just handle because real handler. Let me need to remove this because it is not required anymore. I'm going to refactor this. I'm going to call handle just when and my test is green. My test is, I think, and I can remove this safely. So in my test, I'm going to say that um, handler dot handle request parameter. I want to handle the request, and I'm going to say something like that when request dot get parameter with page parameter, then return um, yes, no problem. I'm going to retrieve something like that, 10, for example. And I'm going to inline this. I call bin, just, I'm sorry, bin. And for this, I'm going to assert that um, bin dot get page is 10. And my test now passes. So I'm going to run this, and you can here see that I am missing this branch here. I also missing here, but I am missing here. I need to test when my page is null or is empty. So by default, the group CI is bin default the page to an initial value that is 1. So here we are going to set page to 1 when null, something like that. And I'm going to say, well, aquí I want to use null and it's 1. I'm going to do a lot of duplication by the time, but it is not a good idea. And it is working fine. And if I say something like that, I'm going to use an empty string here. An empty string here, and it is passing. And now my coverage is almost green. This is the part I want to show you. Um, and you can say, well, this is working fine, but you look at this, we have a code smell here. If one of you can discover, please raise your hand. What is the code smell or the 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 coming bug here? And this is in this expression. Somebody know? Java developer? No?
No.
Okay. Well, the bug is
Because
we are
it's using
using
the string
yes, we are
and should
using
be, yeah, go ahead.
we are using this, and I need to prove that this is a bug. Let me check. If I run something like that, empty new string, and I use new string and use something like that, it I expecting this, but what happened with my test is red. And why is red? Because I get a number for my exception. Because it is not the same to compare strings using the this not equals operator that using the equals method. So this is a book we have here, and all other book we can have here. Well, we have a test that fails. We need to repair, maintain green as possible. And I'm going to say here, I'm going to use string utils like before is not empty because this utility check this, and my test is now green because it was not prepared for this object. Another thing, well, I have prepared more things, but I think we cannot have time to show all the things. What happens when my string is not a number? Is not a number. Well, if I say something like not a number or something like that, I am guessing that if I cannot convert to the integer, what will be happen? Will be convert to one, or will be throw an exception, or what we need to do? Well, we need to define this, and you need to ask for to your manager or something like that. But if they say, well, treat as default value, do not throw an exception to not propagate this, and if you throw this, it is failing. So I need to enclose this with a try catch block. But here I don't like to print the stack trace. I want to use a logger here and try to inform with a warm message that you change some of the behavior, because if you only manage the cache but do not do something, you cannot inform to the users you are doing something wrong. But it's not a problem. It's not an error you can handle, but provide a message. And I think the best thing you can do is to provide a warm message. Here I will to stop because we don't have time. But if you can want to see the complete solution, I did two tries. In the other repository, you can use kata1 and kata2 to look the final solution. And if you want to try this, please, in your free time, you can do it. And to finish my presentation, I'm going to say something about this. Write readable and maintainable code and test. Try to do. The code must express the business rules, not use variables that you don't understand. And also strive for simplicity. Use the most single test that you can do. Do not complicate the things. Know your tools well, the frameworks, the IDEs, the shortcuts, something. To be a master using your IDE. It's hard, but if you don't write code, uh, you cannot do it. Work in small and safe increments. Commit often. Every time you are green is a good place to commit. Embrace changes. Be brave. Do not be to have you need to have confidence if you have a good technique, and you need to be a boy scout role. Do not lead broken windows. Remove warnings, remove unnecessary code, whatever do you think that is not necessary for the code, remove it and leave your code as clean as possible. And let, check this: when you're factoring, you can do something like that. It is working fine, and you can um, apply more changes. And I think it's all for me. I really hope you enjoy this, and it will serve for the projects you manage. And that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you very
Thanks a
much. That
lot,
was
Mehdi.
great.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Thank you.
great presentation. Thanks.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Benja.
You're welcome.
Hey, is that Jenkins the server in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. All right, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Later.
See ya.